Alright everyone, we've got a Thursday video for you today, a nice wee surprise, and we're back on the channel with Scott McDonald and Asim for a title winning video, guys. The dust has settled on an amazing weekend. The hangovers are gone by now, I would hope. Certainly mine has. Enjoyable, Scott, wasn't it, just to see Celtic get over the line. In fact, over the line isn't even the right phrase to use, is it? Because we're so much better than the rest.
Absolutely, as proven once again on the weekend, and still more to come as well. Still more to be achieved, even for the season to be finished. I think reaching the 100-point mark, reaching probably the highest points mark, is something that the club wants to achieve itself. Obviously, already scored 100 goals. There's just been some fantastic performances throughout this campaign. And whenever there's been questions asked, this team's answered them every single time of asking this season.
Yeah, they have. How do you think you'll remember this league season, Asim? Obviously, 4 games still to go, but what will you take away from the team's performances?
Yeah, I think there's been quite a lot of chat with people like maybe comparing or just discussing the difference between last year's one, which was more of a dramatic one and, almost unexpected and just a lot of ups and downs. Whereas this season, I think the main take home is just the absolute dominance and consistency of it. It's just been relentless right from the off. I don't think there's been a stage in the season where we've not felt we're going to win this league. Whereas obviously last season it was very different. It was up and down. I think just from the minute we won that first derby match, I think it's just been, well, even before that, we've been putting in great performances and big results right from the off, and it's just the sheer relentless consistency of this side, which I think, as Scott said, I think that will be in the minds of the players and the manager to maybe try and break those records, because I think this season deserves it. We've been that good and we've been that dominant that it would be fitting if we do go on and achieve those records.
Yeah, we can still get the most points I think we've ever had, which was the Invincible season, 106, I think. I think we're still on
Yep.
for 107 if we win our last 4. The goals record might be 106 again, might be the record number of goals, and we're obviously on to beat that, wins, etc. You bring up an interesting point there, because last season was an incredible season. It was like we were the underdogs. We were all fighting together to try and win that league back. And last season for me might have been my favourite season ever supporting Celtic. I thought it was incredible. Every game was just so meaningful. This season was always going to be like the kind of tough follow-up act. It's like the sequel that comes out, and it just hasn't quite got that first buzz of the first one. But having said that, that's no fault of the players, and the players have actually reached a higher level than last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll be first to admit you've been very, very spoiled over the last decade or so with the success that Celtic have had in the first year of despair and coming back and bouncing back straight away. Of course, it was going to have the emotions, and the special memories of it, because it meant that much, bringing it back to Celtic Park again. And obviously the huge disappointment of not getting 10 at that time and going through COVID and everything else that was going on at that time for everyone. It was hugely an emotional season last year. However, I think if you ask any player, if you ask any coach, or ask anyone inside that building, what's harder to do, the first time round or the second time? I think it's to back up everything that you've done in that first campaign and improve and be even better and stronger and harder to beat. And Celtic have been that all season this year. And I think Ange touched on it with his interview, at the end of the game. He was a bit worried and concerned that did this team have enough to motivation, not the quality, but the motivation and the intensity to go again. 38 games in a season, all the European games. But they've answered those questions remarkably. You have to say only one loss all season. Go close to almost invincible. If they're to win the next 4 games and beat that points tally, that's a phenomenal achievement. And I say fans have been so spoiled. Like, Ange will be only the 5th manager to have completed a treble if he's to do this, against Inverness in this Scottish Cup final. I think because we've had, 6 or 7. I think it was, how many is it? 5 or 6 in the last 9 to 10 years. I think that goes a little bit, might be even more than that. Hamish, you'll tell me, but I think it goes a little bit understated in terms of that achievement itself. And certainly he'll go down in history, Ange, as a very, very successful and top manager for Celtic.
Yeah, we're on for a fifth treble in 7 seasons, which
There you
is
go.
remarkable. We
Yeah,
only
it's
won a double
unbelievable.
last year as well,
Unbelievable.
guys. Just a double last year. We took a year off for COVID as well. So I
Yeah,
think it's something like 17 trophies in 7 seasons if we win the Scottish Cup. Like, it's totally mind-boggling. Just what you're saying there, Scott, about, and Ange kind of spoke about that after the game, the fact that he said, there's always a worry there that after an amazing season, do the players come back with that same hunger? You must have played in loads of teams at different, levels where you have an incredible season and backing it up is really difficult. So why do you think
hugely.
it's different under Ange? Is it just Ange and, his mentality and the players he signed?
Yeah, I think it's to do with recruitment as well and what you bring in the building to help you push along the players that are already there as well. I think the squad was healthy going into the start of this campaign. Also, the upheaval at Rangers as well early on in the season, but to Celtic's doing, it wasn't just the Rangers' own doing. It was Celtic's as well to unfold that in terms of their performance in that first game of the season as well. But it's always hard to win back to back champions. You ask any player that because you've done it once, and then the pressure and the expectation levels rise from everyone within the building, but mostly outside it. And it only takes a couple of falls here or there to those expectations become a burden to players and to everyone. The pressure mounts. But Celtic haven't dealt with that this year because they've been that good that they haven't had any slip ups. Really, let's be real. So it's been a phenomenal season, and then it goes back to can they do it again next year already, and what's going to come because that's all he'll expect. That's all Celtic fans expect and want as well. They'll celebrate this and they'll love this, but already people will be talking about right who's coming in next year, who's leaving, how are we going to do in the Champions League? How can we get better? Troubles. Another title is going to be on the line. Next season. So I think everyone's just got to enjoy this moment again, because like you said there, okay, trebles have been coming thick and fast recently, but you just don't know when the next one is. So you really, really got to
Next
enjoy
season,
every
Scott, have you
single
not
moment.
heard? That's the way things go
just
now.
just enjoy it for what it is in the moment, and that's huge. And I think everyone did last year, and I think that's why you're saying that you have that emotional tie to it because how much you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the moment of that as well, and the memories with your friends and what it meant. But it shouldn't be any different this season in terms of the achievement. It's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't any different on Sunday, Asim, an amazing day. And, when you hear Scott chatting about Ange there and the demands of the Celtic support, Ange must be, maybe other than, a select few, Jock Stein, Martin O'Neill, etc., must be the most born to manage Celtic guy ever when you think of the way he thinks about football and that kind of just relentless attitude he has. It's very aligned with what Celtic needs.
Yeah, I think Scott's totally bang on there. We should never take it for granted. These trebles that we've been so used to 5 and 7, that's incredible. But if you look before that, it
If we
took
beat
us a long
Inverness, we
time.
should say.
If,
Yes,
sorry, of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
yeah. I was going to say that
Um,
too.
but it's true in terms of Ange. I was lucky enough to grow up through Martin O'Neill's time, and I'll be honest, I never thought there'd be a connection with a manager the way a lot of the fans had with Martin again. And I think this is up there with Ange. That Martin O'Neill team was incredible. The players we had and just him as a manager and how he revitalised the club at that point. And I feel Ange has a similar kind of stature and presence. And my dad going back even longer, he thinks Ange is like on a similar standing to some of the greats as well in terms of just a number of things, like you said, is football philosophy, how he aligns with how Celtic historically like to play and how the fans love to see their football. Just everything that he says, every note that he hits, it strings a chord with a lot of fans. He's basically exactly what you'd want in a manager, in terms of on and off the pitch. And I think that's why there is such a connection right now between the fans. You see the scenes, and I think you said it in one of your videos that this didn't used to happen like this when you'd win a title and it would be that many fans going straight to Celtic Park to celebrate it. And I think, again, that just comes from the kind of connection that Ange has built and these group of players. It's a very likeable group of players who again, the fans feel relatable and just want to revel and enjoy every single minute of it. And Sunday was no different. It was another brilliant day.
Yeah, his message was bigger and better, or the other way around at the end of last season. What I'll ask you both an impossible question now to peer into Ange's mind. What would you think the message could be at the end of this season for next season?
Be ready, be ready. Because if you're not ready, we're not stopping. So we're not gonna stop anything to let you go. You're gonna get pushed off, and someone else is gonna jump on. If you're not ready. So Ange is pretty forthright in sort of in his message, and it'll be strong. Have a nice time off, enjoy it. You deserve it. However, we're ready to come back and give it our best again, and be ready for the challenge because Rangers are going to come harder and faster than they even did this year. And that's again another reason why you've got to give this group of players massive credit and Ange himself, because if you're being totally honest, in the last decade, out with the title that was lost, Rangers, they had a okay crack last year, but this is probably the strongest challenge that they've given Celtic over a course of a season in a long time. In terms of since Michael Beale come in as well, winning week in, week out, Celtic having to match that. That comes with its pressures, guys, and expectations as well. And when it goes tit for tat, that just shows you the true characters you've got in your building and the belief that you've got in the building, out with the staff itself, but the players, and how strong mentally this group is. So I have every confidence of them going forward again next year. It's just how they strengthen once again. You can't stand still, like Ange always says. You need to bring fresh blood in, to revamp and to re-energize the group as well, even if it's only 2 to 3, but it's 2 to 3 that are looking to actually play football at the club and better your 11, which is very difficult at this moment, considering as well the challenges you have in the transfer window with the big Premiership clubs to make your team even better. But the Asian market is where he'll go again, I believe, and he'll be looking to strengthen for that Champions League push as well, because I think he really, really wants to have success in that competition.
Yeah, can't wait for all of that stuff. I must say, I asked that last question, and we do still have, I think, 4 league games and a cup final to go. So I should probably remember that when I'm asking about end of season speeches and all of that. Just want to pick out 5 games that helped us to win the league. I've got 5 here, but if you guys feel you want to shout out a couple each, maybe we can take it from there. We'll see if they align. What you thinking, Asim? Any obvious ones?
The one that I remember was the St Johnstone away, because I think the gap was maybe only a couple of points at that stage. I think we were playing in the early kick-off. We were 1 up, coasting. It seemed it wasn't a great performance, and then we just slacked off second half, and we let them score in the last. I think it was injury time, and at that point, I think if we drew and then they won in the afternoon, it might have been, I think, level or something like that. So it was quite an important point. And then Giakoumakis turned up and got the late winner, literally 95th minute. And I think that was the first of our late winners this season. We've not had as many as last year, but we had a few. And again, it was just a big one, I think, just to show that we've still got that kind of winning mentality right to the end. And yeah, that was an important one. I think that stands out for me as one of the ones in the earlier part of the season anyway.
It was a bit like the Dundee United one as well. Remember that at Celtic Park when they scored late on, and we actually scored twice that day to win 4-2. I think St Johnstone came first, and then maybe a couple of weeks after. That was like a real period when it was probably the toughest period of the season we had, when those Champions League games were in and all the travelling associated with that, and we lost at St Mirren, and don't want to talk out of turn, but I think there was some sort of illness going through the team at that period as well. I've kind of heard murmurings of that. So Celtic really had to grind in at that period, and those were big wins at the time. Scott, anything spring out?
Well, look, you'll go back to the first Celtic Rangers game. Obviously, they're always pivotal if you can get ahead of them. Winning that one. I go back to a game at Tynecastle, first game at Tynecastle as well, the 4-3 game. It was when VAR was first introduced as well. So it was a tricky one, how that was going to work and how it was topsy-turvy. And obviously the first meeting there last year with Ange didn't go according to plan. Lost on that day. So it's always a tough place to go to Tynecastle, regardless, of what form they're in. When Celtic come to town, it's always a difficult place to go. We know that, and it's always nice to come away with 3 points. So to win that game, I think Taylor scored that day as well, a nice goal, and to win it 4-3, I thought that was a big game for me because you've got to win away from home against the other big rivals, the Aberdeens and the Hearts, and I thought that was a really big result at the time, coming off the back of an international break as well.
Yeah. You mentioned Aberdeen. Remember the 1-0 win there? First game back after the World Cup. Callum McGregor scores 86th, 87th minute. I mean, we were only 6 points clear going into that game. If we had have drawn, it would have been 7 points clear. We were going to Ibrox barely a week later. So that was a major... And we were poor that day as well. It wasn't... You talk about Kyogo having an incredible season. Like that period, he was struggling a wee bit. Champions League, he hadn't been selected for Japan at the World Cup. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It was first game back.
They come to Australia, didn't score any goals in Australia. Previous to coming to Australia, there was a struggle for goals. There was a frustration within. You could see it in Ange, and you could see it within the group starting to fester a little bit. The break probably come at a really good time. It sort of festered into their travels to Australia, not scoring any goals. But then that first game against Aberdeen, they get the 3 points, and then it started. The floodgates just opened from there.
Ibrox, though, that could have gone the other way. Well. I mean, that Kyogo
the psychology
goal,
of that Ibrox game, I think, was important because if we'd lost that, I think it was Beale's maybe 6. I can't remember. Would have been down to 6. He had 100% record going into that game. Just the optics and the psychology and the kind of narrative that would have followed that, would have put a pressure on us that we've maybe not had at any point this season, due to how consistent and how good we've been. But I think that was a key one just to avoid defeat there. And we didn't play great in that game, especially the second half. But again, just to come away with something, I think was really important. And we've just not looked back since. I think we'd won 17, 18 games in a row since then until the draw at home to Motherwell. So that one was a big one as well.
Yeah, it certainly was. Just moving on, what do you think for the rest of the season now, Scott? 4 league games and a cup final to go. Are we going to see that relentless Celtic the whole way through, or is a wee drop-off inevitable now the league's been won?
Look, I think after this week, I think there'll be certain players being given more opportunity before the end of the season. Hopefully we'll see a few younger players getting more opportunity as well. But I think obviously it's important, obviously getting the victory against Rangers. So going into next season, you want to really... Okay, the sword's been dug in there, but you'd like to really put it right through them psychologically going into the beginning of next season. So, look, it's going to be a tough game. That Rangers haven't got a bad record in recent times at home against Celtic. I think it's only 1 win and 6 for Celtic. I don't like to say things like that, but look, the shackles are off for Celtic as well. They can go and have a go. There's no sort of tightness about going to Ibrox and having to defend a certain amount of point lead. They can go out there and hopefully have a good crack at them, and it'll be an entertaining game and one that they can come out on top of.
I'm not really fussed, Asim, to be honest. It's just a wee game for
friendly,
us,
isn't it?
A wee friendly. I'd send the B team out, to be honest.
It would
go 3 from 3 over the week.
Aye, correct.
No, I'm the same. Obviously, the pressure's totally off. It's one of those where you can just relax and enjoy it. And as Scott said, it'd be great to just rub it right in and put the sword in. But by the same token, I'm not going to lose sleep if it doesn't go our way either. Because we've done all our hard work. We've got ourselves in this position now. We can go there, play with freedom, and I think we will. I think we've had a few weeks where we've not played our best. So I wonder if now that the actual title's been sealed, we might see us kind of play back to a bit more free-flowing stuff that we've been used to in the build-up to the final, because I think Ange will want us to kind of get back to playing our best football again and just kind of really gear up for that final in June. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I totally like the fact that there's no kind of pressure on it from our end.
Try to remember, Scott, if you ever had any kind of so-called meaningless derbies, did you? End of season stuff? No.
not
No.
in my day. That didn't happen. It always went down to the split. So
Yeah.
Do you think your attitude
I wasn't.
would it change at all, even for a game like that, knowing the league's won, or conversely for Rangers knowing the
No,
league's lost? No.
no, absolutely not. Not as a player. And when you get there on the day as a fan, you're not going to be thinking that either. Trust me, or
Yeah.
watching it, you're not going to be thinking that either. So it's
Yeah.
all right. It's nice to say that, but you really, really want to beat them. There's no two ways about this. Like, and Andrew will be exactly the same, and so will the players. So, and I think it's important. I think it's important they win this game. It really is, and obviously the record tally as well. Like, you've gone this far as a group. You want to get that record points tally. So you need to win this game to get that. So there's motivation within the game itself as well. So I don't think the Celtic players will be going into that game thinking, oh, it's just a friendly. No, no chance. They're there to win and bury them.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting to wake up and be, totally buzzing for the game. And as I say, that there's a genuine apathy in their support for this fixture. There's tickets still available, I think, on their kind of ticket exchange websites. I have been browsing some of their forums a wee bit in recent days, and they're not buzzing for this game. They're a wee bit kind of worried about how it might go. And I think their feeling is, even if they win this, then the kind of allegation thrown at them will be that you only won because it didn't really matter. So it's kind of lose-lose in a weird way for them, but I think for us it's certainly a real opportunity. Imagine the scenes at Ibrox if we go and win with no fans. I mean, that might be the final straw for a lot of them, Asim. I guess that's what we've got to keep in our mind. A wee 2 or 3-0 with no Celtic fans would be amazing.
Are we expecting a guard of honour as well? Is that not the done thing?
God, every
Um,
year we get this.
I know, but yeah, I think it'd be brilliant, and I think, like you say, as Scott said, Ange and the players definitely will be treating it just as important as we did the last few games against them. We'll want to go and make a statement and win again at Ibrox. As Scott said, we've not had a great recent record at Ibrox, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think we'll see our kind of strongest team, and then after that, we might obviously give some game time to other players, but yeah, looking forward to seeing how likes of Kobayashi and Ralston as well. It'll be a good test for them. So yeah, it's good for us to see how they cope under the pressure.
Is that who you're talking about, Scott, in terms of, players coming in and maybe getting some game time, or did you have other people in your mind?
Oh, look, I think there'll be a few more fringe players that will get opportunities. I'd like to see a couple of other younger players, like even Vata, get a bit more time as well. And let's see, what they're capable of in that environment with the shackles off, and getting more experience as well. If these are the younger players that are to play their parts and their roles, coming into next season, that they're going to be pushed into the environment a little bit more. I'd like to see a couple of them given a little bit more time. It depends. Do we give Bernabei a little bit more time as game time as well? Let's see what he's all about. Greg Taylor, a little bit of a rest. Look, it's a difficult one. You don't want to make too many changes, particularly, like I said, if I'm coaching Celtic and if I'm a player and I see that points tally that we can break, I'd want it. I would want it. I don't get any more for it, but I've worked this hard for this long in this season, in this campaign, that I think everything matters, and you want it when you at Celtic as a player. You want to make your mark, don't you? You want to be remembered. You don't want to be just another team that won something. You want to be remembered for something special, and that would certainly put a mark on.
Yeah, Bernabe, talk of him getting a call up for Argentina as well. I saw yesterday, which is kind of, I must admit, a little bit surprising, but could be a real, opportunity for him to keep excelling. Just finally, guys, big women's game tonight as you're watching this on Thursday. Celtic versus Glasgow City at Celtic Park. Looking like it's going to be a record attendance for a women's game at Celtic Park. We'll be doing a bit of filming at the game, maybe a wee bit more previewing ahead of Saturday's match as well. So should be a good one tonight, Asim. Hopefully get a good crowd in, and a big one for the women's team as well. And they really need 3 points, I think, to have any chance of winning the league.
Yeah, we obviously had the setback last week against Rangers, but this is a big one, and as you said, I think there'll be a big crowd for it. Where obviously they've got the kind of trialing the Celtic end as well. That's tonight, isn't it? Where they're behind the goals, so that'll be good to see how that kind of works out. And Hopefully a big performance and just kind of carry on our good run in terms of like if we can win that, what would that bring the lead down to at the top, or would it?
I think it's maybe 5 at the moment, so they
Yeah,
really have to win it. And
have
Glasgow
to win.
City are obviously the top team, so it's an opportunity to win them as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Good luck. Should be a good one.
yeah, we'll have a bit of reaction tomorrow. Yeah, we'll say goodbye, everyone. Scott, you'll be back on next week, I think, hopefully when we've got another 3 points against Rangers. And yeah, plenty still going on. Chat to you tomorrow.